It's a big noisy universe of stocks out there. Welcome to Goodbye or Goodbye. Our goal to help cut through that noise to navigate the best moves for your portfolio. Today we are looking at the semiconductor sector with leader Nvidia reporting third quarter results after the bell tomorrow. Joining me now, Kevin Munn, Henny Walsh, Chief Investment Officer, doing a double dose for us today with now Goodbye or Goodbye. And your buy pick is?
Shocker.
Nvidia. And so we know what the stock has done over the past year, right? We have seen a near tripling in the shares after they already had climbed a lot last year. And we are now coming into an earnings report where 85% earnings per share growth is estimated and 83% revenue growth. So let's talk about why you still like it here. You say it's the hub of this AI ecosystem.
Yeah, I believe Nvidia is trying to become the hub of the AI ecosystem, very similar to how Amazon became the hub of the e-commerce ecosystem. They're not slowing down, and they're looking to take over all aspects of that ecosystem, not just semiconductors and chips, not just data centers, but ultimately hardware and software as well.
Right, so it's that whole system that they talk about. So let's talk about the market share for Nvidia in this area right now, because most of the people we talk to say it's kind of Nvidia and everybody else.
Yes, and they dominate in the chips aspect, and they're not slowing down there. And I'll touch upon this in a minute with respect to Blackwell and Rubin. But how about their data center business? I bet we see more explosive growth in their data center business going forward as well. And data centers are so critical to AI because they're the nervous system. They power all these intensive AI calculations. But they're getting stretched now because they have to look for alternative sources of energy, which is now delving into natural gas and nuclear energy, not just electricity.
Which I know is something else you like, but that's the subject of another goodbye or goodbye. And then finally, what's next, right? Because the market is always asking that question.
And so is Nvidia. So we know next year they're going to come out with the Ultra version of their Blackwell chip that they just debuted this year. 2026, they're coming out with the new generational chip called Rubin. 2027, the Ultra version of the Rubin chip. So they're not being complacent. They're not resting on their laurels. They're continuing to power ahead, and I think they're going to continue to gain market share as a result. Whatever market share they don't have already.
Right. I mean, all of that said, they're not without risk, of course.
Certainly.
So let's run through some of the potential pitfalls here. First of all, there's the overheating issues, and we heard once again some reports of that yesterday, that they were kind of struggling, especially with the largest arrays of chips. When they put, I think it was 72 of them together at once, they do struggle with this issue.
And it's not just an Nvidia issue. Remember, these chips run hot. The data centers run hot, so they need cooling solutions as well. That's why you see companies like Vertiv Solutions, or Modine Manufacturing, actually rising in terms of their stock performance because they provide the cooling solution to the data centers that employ these chips. So I think that problem will be resolved, but continue to look for other chip makers having similar overheating issues.
Gotcha. And then the valuation, which you can't ignore after the run that they have seen.
Yeah, I mean, they're currently trading at 64 times current earnings, 36 times forward earnings. I kind of like that forward earnings number much better. 36 seems more reasonable, but it's hard to bet against Nvidia right now. I think you could find an attractive entry point that's a little better than where we are today, but you might not get that after tomorrow, at least over the short term.
Yeah, we'll see. Although, you know, it is hard for it to surpass expectations, right? Even though you say, you know, you think they're going to beat, they haven't always risen even when they beat.
And will they meet the market's expectations for how much they're going to beat this time around? How much longer can they surpass these very lofty expectations? And if just one of those earnings report they provide weaker guidance than the street is expecting, you could see a pullback, but that could also bring more investors in who are looking for that.
Like you, maybe, and you guys hold the shares. I
We do.
Okay,
we do.
Let's talk about the stock that you would be avoiding here. This is Wolfspeed, another chip company. These shares are down 85% or so over the past year here, and the earnings have been falling for Wolfspeed.
Unfortunately, Wolfspeed is moving at snail's pace with respect to profitability, pun intended, of course. Earnings declining quarter over quarter and year over year, and you'll see in the next point, revenues declining quarter over quarter and year over year, struggling with profitability, and you talk about that stock performance. This isn't a good trend. This company needs to turn itself around, else they risk no additional funds coming in.
What is going on here? Why is this such a different story than some of the others that we're watching in this industry?
I think it's just poor balance sheet management. They continue to take on more debt. They're in the right space, semiconductors and chips, right? And you'll see as a positive potential upside, they're in the right area of the market that could benefit from the next 4 years.
Let's go there.
Talk about it. EVs. There are certain EV mandates coming down the road, and perhaps now with Musk as part of the Trump team, there'll be even more money directed towards EVs, renewable energy, fast charging stations. So if they can hang on, they may benefit over the next 2 to 4 years, but they got to shore up their balance sheet. They have to start growing their earnings. They have to start growing their sales and become profitable first.
Gotcha. So this is not one that you're in at the
Right
moment.
now, we are not.
We'll be
Doesn't meet
watching
our selection criteria.
Yeah, we'll see if things turn around there. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for
My
being
pleasure.
here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jules.
As we ramp up for those Nvidia earnings tomorrow. And thank you for watching Goodbye or Goodbye. We'll bring you new episodes at 3:30 p.m. Eastern.